Hello everybody and welcome to the Pre-Good Gaming Podcast, episode 97. Hello, a croeso I podcast, Rhif 97. My name is Mr. Gareth Evans. Joining me today is Mr. Henry Punch That Reporter Cooper.
The little bitch got what she deserved. She's there spouting fake news. She does it 3 times and she's not getting away with it. She got sparked because she was a bad reporter. And that's the end of it. And I've got 2 separate comments about that, which we'll get to in like an hour's time.
Later on. Yeah, so welcome to the podcast. If you're new around here, we've got a bunch of things to talk about today. Henry's discussing Narita Boy and his very early impressions of the game. EA have filed a new patent, a new insidious patent. We'll get to that in just a bit. That's the juicy bit of the podcast. Community questions after that. The unnecessarily aggressive comment of the week is what we've got in store today. No triggered fanboy comment because he wasn't a fanboy. He was just triggered for no apparent reason. And then after that, some of the YouTube comments, bad dad joke of the week to round off the podcast. But first up, the opening faff section. Henry, what have you been up to this week? Like, how is your life in general? Just fill us in.
How is anyone's lives these days? I mean, there's not much we can do, but in the UK, or at least the very least in England, I don't know quite what your rules are over in the foreign land that is Wales. It's basically a different world over there these days. We're allowed to now meet outside with up to 6 people from, I think, 2 households. That's now the rule. So we did that, and I definitely didn't get really, really pissed. That's definitely not what happened. Of course.
Excellent.
No, didn't
Making
happen.
up for lost time, Henry.
Exactly, and I definitely didn't kind of do it 2 days in a row. And definitely didn't want to just sack off doing anything for the whole weekend and just knock it all through and get completely wankered. But to be fair, I wasn't too hungover. Like, I got pretty pissed, but I recovered. You know, I feel like it because I've had so much time off. Well. My body has built up a tolerance where I didn't expect to. I expected to be, dead to the world for about a week. But no, that's what I did with my weekend when perhaps I should have been doing, I don't know, playing games, I guess.
Well, it was a Easter weekend. That's what it's for,
exactly,
isn't it? It's for extra days off work just so you can get hammered. That is the rule of Easter weekend. For a 4-day weekend here in the UK, for those of you who aren't familiar. But yeah, so...
But I have been playing a couple of things, and I've been moaning about this drought of video game releases and video games news for ages. And now, just like a bloody double-decker bus, I get all of them at once. I've ended up with Narita Boy, which I will be talking about because I played that the most. Outriders, which I've played a tiny bit of, but its servers were misbehaving, so I've not really done much with that. And as of today, which is Thursday the 8th of April, I have Oddworld Soulstorm to get through. So it's all come at once. I'm going to have a real hard time managing all of them if I've got to do some kind of review. But when I think of review, I mean a dedicated video to it. It may not be that for each of these. It may just be a podcast segment. Like today, it's going to be a podcast segment, and we'll see what happens. But it's a lot all at once. And eventually, next month, things kick off really way even more, because we've got Deathloop, Biomutant, and Resident Evil 8, all of which are, well, Resident Evil 8 is a huge game. It's it's a big franchise. Deathloop's going to be pretty big. Biomutant, probably not as big, but still, it's a lot of stuff going on. Returnal is at the end of the month for PS5, so that'll be something people will be talking about. But I won't be playing it. But this drought is finally coming to an end. Is all I'm trying to say. After weeks of virtually nothing.
That's it, and it's getting exciting now. It's kicked off with Narita Boy, right? So tell us about Narita Boy for those of us who are unfamiliar.
So Narita Boy, despite its rather stupid name, it's actually really, really fun. I spotted it a while ago on it was a daily triple, and I was looking for like a third story. So like the third wants to be nice and short, something fun that you can just go and look at, be like, oh, this is a cool thing, or something just not worth a full segment about. And Narita Boy fit that bill. I found it, I think I saw a Eurogamer article about it saying it had a release date or something very simple, and I was like, this looks really fun. It's a 2D pixel art side-scroller hack and slash, which is, again, it's a very broad genre and applies to many things, but it's a genre I rather enjoy. It's developed by Studio Koba and published by Team 17, but it began life on Kickstarter and raised €160,946. So it got its a success on Kickstarter. There's plenty of those scams out there, but every now and then a good one comes along, and it's well worth a look. But basically, the whole thing about Narita Boy is it's 80s as fook. Like it's neck deep in all the 80s like cheesiness and campiness. And if you think of something that would be cool for like an 80s cartoon, TV show, or movie to do, chances are this game does it. It really makes me feel like Saturday morning cartoons like He-Man or Thundercats, and that's even before my time. I was a bit later, but I'm still like have a toe into that world.
Yeah,
and it's great. Basically, it's Tron. In a roundabout way, it's Tron. And in Tron, it's a digital world a man creates, and he goes inside, and all of the programs have like avatars of people. They're real people you can interact with and talk with, but there's obviously something sinister going on. It's more or less the same thing here. You get sucked into this world called the Digital Kingdom, and you assume the role of the Narita Boy. He's like a legendary warrior who is there to save the digital world. Basically, he's comes back every so often to sort out viruses and bugs and shit, just fix the problems of the world. But what makes it really interesting is it's all very spiritual. Everything is sort of holy and has this mysticism about it, rather than just being code and shit. Like a character called Mother speaks to you quite frequently. She's sort of like your spirit guide in a way, and she's literally just a manifestation of the motherboard. She's there to talk you through the ins and outs of the code and the technical stuff, but with this veneer of spirituality and mysticism about it, which is quite fun. It's a lot of text, because there's no dialogue. Well, there's not zero dialogue. There's some dialogue, and a lot of it's beeps and boops, and sort of background sort of noise, like ambient sound sometimes. But yeah, most of it's reading a lot of stuff, and it can be quite overwhelming. It's like this huge lore dump of the trichoma and the technoblade and all of these unique terms which don't mean anything to anyone, but it's in this universe. You just kind of got to suck it up. But there is voice acting, as I just said, because that comes from the creator, and he's basically, the game starts of him like he's at his desk typing away, and I think he gets like punched through the screen by some mysterious virus or something that's taken over his digital kingdom that he's created, his world that he's thought up all by himself. And then you get sucked in to go sort shit out. But beyond just, eliminating the viruses and the bad programs, you're trying to rebuild his memories. And this is where the game kind of elevates itself to be a little bit more than just what it looks like. Because you rebuild his memories like a little bit at a time. I think there's 12 to get through. And it's just through the course of the game. You go to an area, you get a floppy disk or something, or a key card, and you can do it. And then you go through as he grows up. Basically, he starts off as like a little boy, and it's just this very cute, soft-coloured environment. And you walk through, and he tells you stories about how his dad was always a really hard worker, but his mum was really sweet. He loved his grandparents, but then things happen in the family, and there's all of this drama. It's quite solemn and sincere. It's quite pleasant, which is a really nice contrast to the ridiculous 80s cheese of it. Like I audibly said, this is one of the coolest things I've ever had, when the character, he needs to get to a new area, but it's way too far away. It's like a different section of the digital kingdom. So he gets a horse, like a robot horse made of computers. Like, and I don't mean like nice monitors. I mean big, off-white, sort of yellow CRT monitors that probably display in green. And you're riding along, and it just turns into this on-rails cowboy ride thing, like very, very dramatic, like going along with a drum beat in time with the hooves of the techno horse or whatever it was called, jumping over spikes and shit. It was awesome. But then it went up a level for no reason. Who could have seen this coming? The horse turns into a robot mech suit, and you go inside it. You have your sword, which is already, it's quite a big sword. It's a huge thing, and all of your moves are basically the same. You just way slower, but you hit really fucking hard. And they throw out a bunch of enemies who are a bit of a pain in the ass to kill, but you're in this giant robot horse for no reason, and you're just wasting them. It's so cool because it's just so stupid. Like, no, you would never, ever, ever be able to do anything like that in live action. It's why, like, 90s and 80s Saturday morning cartoons were so good, and games like this are so good because they know what they are. They can just do this goofy shit. Like, when you, every time you die, you, this thing comes up, and the big dramatic, I think it's like a tape. and it says "Rest in Force," and then you immediately respawn and you carry on again. It's like a rock hand. It's very Johnny Silverhand in that kind of way. But it's just awesome. I really like it.
It looks. I'm just checking out the IGN review. I've got it on silent and I'm watching it through. It just does seem very cool. One thing I spotted was it looks like LeChuck from Monkey Island's. Like one of the bad guys is like a red kind. It's like 43 seconds into the review, and there's a palm tree. Just definitely kind of Monkey Island's-esque throwback or something in there. So is there a lot of these kind of references to other games?
There's loads of little references, big and small, to different classic 80s things. Like I can't even think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, there's loads of things you will recognize. Be like, oh, that's that, or this is this, and whatever. But in terms of actual gameplay, it claims to be a Metroidvania. Oh no, sorry, a Retrovania, I think it calls itself. I think calling it a Metroidvania type game is a bit of a stretch, personally, because to me, Metroidvania is about you find upgrades and abilities and stuff, and then you can go back to areas you previously couldn't access. So there's a lot of backtracking inherent in that kind of game design. There's not really much backtracking in this, so it's kind of you just get upgrades and you just keep going forwards. It's very, very linear. So you're still getting the stuff, but there's no other way to go. It's not like you have route A and route B. Oh, I can't do route A yet because I need a certain item to be able to smash this wall down. So I'll do route B now, and then I'll come back after I've done route C and D, and I'll finally be able to do route A. That to me is what a proper Metroidvania is. So I wouldn't really call this a Metroidvania. It's more just a action-adventure hack and slash type thing.
Yeah.
But speaking of hacking and slashing, your main weapon is you've got a sword, but because it's cool as hell, and they're like, why not? It's also a shotgun. Because who doesn't want a sword that doubles up as a shotgun? I mean, what else do you need when you're trying to kill weird red creatures in your digital kingdom? So you've got basic, 3-hit combos, jump attacks, but then you can get upgrades and new abilities, so you can do like a slam attack. There's an uppercut slash attack, which is also useful for traversal, which is quite cool. There's a bit of platforming, nothing too hairy. It's fairly simple, but yeah. But then over time you get some more interesting abilities, and I think this is where the game kind of needs a bit more for me, is it can be very, very easy because you can just button mash your way through, and there's not a lot in the way of strategy to beat enemies. There's most of them, you just hit them with a sword and they'll go down. There's a couple where you have to like barge into their shield to knock them off balance, and then you can hit them and they still just die pretty quickly. But there are a couple who have these like flames blinking above their heads, and you can like sort of power up depending on the colour. So if there's a red flame, you power up with the red power up, and you will do loads more damage to them, but if they hit you, they'll do loads and loads of damage to you. So it's a good risk reward thing. And there was a scenario where they threw in a bunch of different enemies with red flames and blue flames all at the same time, and I had to keep switching between them, and that was really engaging. But unfortunately, most of the time I think it's just a bit too easy, and I would like a bit more depth. Personally, I mean, I'm not looking to be, turn into a fucking Dark Souls clone or anything like that. Just a little more bump, a little more pressure. The
game that it reminds me of is a bit of Katana Zero. Did you ever play that?
Yes, it's very reminiscent of Katana Zero for sure.
Yeah, and there's the gameplay element in that where whenever you fail, you rewind time and you got to plan out your thing, your whole approach to the scenario again, which gives it like a lot of depth, I'd say, for a 2D platformer, hack and slash, which is what it is. So yeah, I don't know why I haven't interjected with that little observation there, but
it's just an 80s-esque pixel art hack and slash.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
It looks nice.
There's a point where you also get these sort of companions called dudes, and my god, they are Bill and Ted like through and through. They are so like, whoa, tubular man. I think there's 3 in total, and I've got 2, and they basically give you like super special moves. So there's one, he like basically does an airstrike along the floor, then the other one sends a wave across. I'm not really sure what the wave does that the airstrike doesn't in terms of actual gameplay uses, but it's quite spectacular. Visually, it's pixel art, but it's still very, very minimalist. There's very few colours. In fact, one character even comments that your version of the Narita Boy, compared to other ones, you're only made of like 20 pixels. You're nothing. How are you going to save us? And obviously, I went and saved him. I'm a hero. But you, when you fire off these special moves, the particle effects are really spectacular, and that really sells how cool the visuals are, because it can be very flat. It can be, it's just sort of like blue, because it's meant to evoke that like old school monitor kind of glow, you know.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that stands out from the footage that I've seen, is that the impact, you know, the feedback that you get, the visual feedback from the impact of the weapons, and the particle effects and the screen shake, it just makes it look like it would be really really good to, you know, it feels really good, like a gameplay feel wise. It'd feel really good.
It's good player feedback, and it gives you that little bump of it makes it feel like you're doing actual damage to something, which is it's not easy to do, but it's like it makes a lot of difference if you can get it right.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think there's these little things that it's not supposed to draw your attention. You're not supposed to realize how they pull it off. It's like the magician behind the screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they're making it a lot more enjoyable to play, and it feels really great. But you can't really quite put your finger on how they're doing it. And it's and it's all the little things added together. It's the feel of it, and that's a culmination of many different factors and how they make the game play.
Yeah, exactly. And it's full of little things like that, because if you just looked at a screenshot of it, or sort of, you know, simple gameplay, it doesn't look like much. Even as pixel art type games go, it's not full of color and full of stuff, as a lot of them can be these days. A lot of them have got really, really good at dialing into that. Like your Narita Boy character, he's like skinny and sort of gangly and has this multicolored sword. Like, it looks a bit daft, but when you do like a cool move, it looks awesome. It looks cool. Yeah. But like I said, my biggest problem is that I would like it to be a bit more difficult, or a bit more not just challenging or hard or anything like that, but more strategy, so I can think a bit more about what I'm doing. Because mainly it's just hit them with a sword, maybe dash behind them and hit them like so that they don't hit me, or something like that. You know, something just to make me think a bit more in combat. That's what I want. But one sort of semi-minor problem, I suppose, excuse me, is because the art style is very minimalist for the most part. It can be difficult to see what's in the foreground, what's on your level, and then what's in the background. So there'll be times when I'm trying to jump on something and it's not actually on my level, or I'm expected to jump on something and I can't tell, which can be a bit of a pain. But I mean, it's not like the end of the world. I mean, once I figure out I can't jump on it, I've learned that lesson, and I won't try and jump on it again. That's the end of it. But yeah, I think it's meant to be about 9 hours long, and I'm around, I think, 6 hours, I think Steam said. And I think the mission is I've got to like reactivate the beams of the trichoma to cleanse the land of the stallion infection, or whatever the hell it is, as well as rebuilding the creator's memories, which is probably my favorite part. Seeing his memories has been really interesting and very not wholesome kind of, but it's quite sad and lonely compared to how ridiculous and kind of camp the rest of the game is. Like when I first got the sword, it has this like big, he lifts it up big and powerful, then it does this big ridiculous guitar solo like Van Halen or something. It was great. But then contrasting that with quite sometimes depressing and dark memories was quite nice. But I'm really enjoying Narita Boy. It came off my radar out of nowhere, and I've just been loving playing it. I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass for Xbox, not PC at the moment, and it's on everything. I would have liked to get it on Switch, but I managed to get a key for it on Steam from Team 17, so thank you very much for that. But I think this is perfect game for the Switch.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the Metacritic scores. It's hovering around 70, between 73 on the Switch and 76, or 74 on the PC, 76 I think on the PlayStation. I can't quite find the price, especially on the Switch. So, have you got the price off the top of your head?
Not on the top of my head. I'll see if I can get it on. See what it is on Steam.
Oh, it's £20 on the Switch. So it's 20 quid, which should be like $25. It's probably about $20 if for those of you in the US.
Yeah, it's about 20 quid on the Steam store as well. So
for supporting an indie developer who's trying to make a game a little bit different. A lot of people value like £1 per hour of gameplay. If that's all you're looking for, maybe this isn't the game for you. But in terms of having a a curated experience, and it's not just filled with bloat and filler.
Yeah,
just
not
it gives you something, for £20. It's less than a gigabytes of download on the Switch. I might pick it up at some point, that's for sure. It looks like
cool.
something I'd enjoy. I enjoyed Katana Zero.
Yeah.
I know it's not that, and I know it's got less of the strategy kind of element, but
it is simple. But there is still joy in the simplicity. You feel very powerful, which is always everyone loves a good power fantasy every now and then. And I don't think this developer's really done much else to my knowledge. I tried looking them up, but I couldn't find anything. Studio Koba, because they had to kickstart it, so then they're not very big really. They've had, I think they're based out of Spain, or at least the studio head or CEO or whatever, he's Spanish.
Yeah.
And I think on their Kickstarter page it said about how he created the game based on his experience living in Japan, because there's a lot of Japanese themes, especially with the spirituality, a lot of like Buddhist ideologies and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to playing more. I think I'm near the end. I've done 2 out of the 3 Lights of the Trichoma things that I need to rescue, and I think I've got about 3 or 4 memories left until I fix the creator's brain. But yeah, I've had a fabulous time. It was a good little surprise.
Narita Boy, something to get your teeth into before a bit of a tasty starter there before
before the big boys come out to play.
Yeah, that's it. So let's move on next to EA's the patent that's come out of the woodwork that EA filed in October 2020, and it was made public a couple of weeks ago. EA calls it the dynamic difficulty adjustments. I think
Activision tried to do one, which was wasn't it based on if someone kills you in Call of Duty with a better gun than what you've got, they would then upsell you that gun. You got killed with this shotgun. If you want to kill them, buy it now, type thing.
What a load of bollocks! And if anyone's interested in reading the details of the patent, it'll be I'm just going to gloss over some of the main features in this discussion now, but there's a link in the description to the full patent if you want to read through it. I did skim over it, and there's a couple of more digestible articles from GameSpot and GamesIndustry.biz down the too if you want the TLDR on it, basically. So it could be easy to interpret this patent as just something that won't really affect them. Like a dynamic difficulty is supposed to just change the difficulty of your game as you're playing. It doesn't sound too difficult, however, or problematic, let's say. The way I see it, I've got a flair for the dramatic, right? I'm about to say something that sounds a little bit more. The way I see this, it's something that's sucking the soul out of gaming, and it's a huge problem for gamers who are, for those of you who are paying attention, because what it is an indication of the insidious descent into statistic-driven gameplay design. But I'll get into the nitty-gritty of all that in just a bit. Let's jump into what the patent is to begin with. So as it reads on the patent, based on the determined expectation duration of gameplay, the difficulty level of the video game will be automatically adjusted. So basically what they're saying is they're calculating what your expected duration of gameplay is. Like, how are they calculating that is the question you ask. Well, they answer that in a patent. The system can, quotes, review historical user activity data with respect to one or more video games to generate the game retention prediction model that predicts an indication of an expected duration of gameplay.
Oh my goodness, what is that sentence?
So what that basically means is it looks at your gaming history. I assume how you've played other EA games, not just the game that you're playing, and based on how you've played, or the statistics on how you've played the previous games or other EA games, it will determine how long you're likely to play the current one. So it's basically using your information, your user activity against you, which is problematic for a couple of reasons. But why is it important to them how long you're playing? This is like the easiest question of all, but they come out and they say it. Quotes, often, games that are too difficult or too easy will result in less enjoyment for a user. Consequently, the user is likely to play the game less. So
Did
basically,
they really
the
need
game.
a patent to figure that one out? Didn't they
Well,
know that? Isn't that day one?
That's it. What they're saying is that if the game's too easy or too difficult, you will enjoy it less. So you're likely to play the game less. So if the game is too difficult, the system will tweak it to make it easier for you, and it'll make it easy if it's difficult, right? So the questions that's clear, right? We understand now what the pattern does, but a couple of questions, right? Some people not thinking about this too deeply might think, well, that seems like a good thing to do. Like, are there applications where this could work? Like, I'm playing devil's advocate. Obviously, I don't feel entirely positive towards this, but Henry, just putting the question to you: can you imagine a situation where this might be beneficial for you as a gamer?
No. I mean, I don't. Dynamic difficulty scaling, or whatever the hell they've called it. It kind of sounds like a fun buzzword, but I don't play games to be fucking dogpiled and have my balls stepped on like Dark Souls or anything in that sort of world. But I like a little bit of challenge. I literally just said that with Narita Boy. But imagine it for a community like the Dark Souls community or the Souls-like community. Difficulty shouldn't scale. Part of the reason those games are so popular is because it's fixed. Like, there is one difficulty level, and that's what you should stick at. And I'm not obviously the EA has nothing to do with that, but I think that principle is right. Difficulty levels can be a tricky subject because some people believe they should just be completely scrapped and the game should be as difficult as the developer intended, and that's it for artistic reasons or whatever. But I don't believe having scalable difficulty means anything, because if you start playing better, it's going to get harder, so you're not actually making any progress. And if you start playing worse, you're not going to be punished for that because the game's just going to get a lot easier. I feel like you're not going to learn anything. I don't mean learn as a person or anything, wishy-washy like that. I mean, you're not going to learn the game if you keep getting beaten because you're making a mistake. Like, you're using the wrong weapon, or they've got, I don't know, they've got a shield up and you're not using the right gadget to bring the shield down or something. If you can't do that, then the game's just going to be really lenient, and you're not going to actually be good at it. I mean, I suppose not everyone wants to be good at it.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, I played Last of Us 2 recently. Well, not recently, last year. But I have real trouble with stealth games, like especially with the controller, and I did have to knock it down to the easiest. I know I'm a scrub, I know, but I had to knock it down, the difficulty down, just to get through it, because I don't know, I just wasn't enjoying getting killed all the time and having to restart. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a glutton for punishment. I like actually achieving something in games and getting through. So just to play devil's advocate, I can see how that would work. I'm trying to be as positive as possible.
You're trying, you're reaching.
And the problem being that I could just do what I did already. There's already options in the difficulty options to change down the difficulty if I want to. Why do they have to put a pattern on this and make this undetectable? That's their own words. They want the player to be undetectable, so that the player has no knowledge of the fact that the game is changing difficulty on the fly.
Well, I just don't think that's in any way beneficial. If I part of the appeal of difficulty, or difficulty levels rather, is you set it to hard, and then you beat it on hard. Like, going back to Last of Us 2, I played it twice. First run I did it on I think it was normal difficulty or hard difficulty. I can't remember. I think it might have been normal. And then on New Game Plus, I played it on the one up, which was either hard or grounded. I don't think it was grounded. I think it was just hard. And it was a way harder game, obviously, and I had way more engagement in the combat scenarios, like enemies flanking you and stuff, and I thought that was really great. But if they scaled as I was doing it, then what's the point? Like, I feel like, I don't know, I just don't buy it. Yeah. I can't even really put it into words why I don't like it. I just feel like I'm not overcoming the obstacle. You're just pulling it out of the way.
Yeah. It takes control away from you, which is, I think, the biggest kind of gripe with it. It's like, why are they putting all this money into a pattern in order to try and pull the wool over your eyes over what you're actually doing, what you're achieving? It's like taking control away from you, because I can control the game's difficulty myself. I can go into the options and change that if that's what I want, if that's what I choose. But this method just takes all that away from me, and I don't know, and the whole justification that they want to increase user engagement. They want to stop people from. That gives a good segue to an example from January 2020, where I don't know if you remember the video that we made on Battlefield 5, where they were changing the time to kill. And they'd done it like flip-flop 4 times on whether what the range, how many bullets it took to kill a player at range. And it was flip-flopping, and they kept changing it. The original DICE's justification was that, they just didn't want newer players from leaving the game, getting frustrated and leaving the game. And that was pissing off all the original players, the hard fans of the game, the players who were playing it for a long time, because it was like running up to Christmas time. I know Christmas time is like flooded with loads of new players. I want to piss them off, so we'll nerf all the guns, wait till the Christmas time's over, get people hooked on the game, and then we'll change the time to kill back again just to please the hardcore gamers who stick around. It's very dubious, and it's just another indication of how these AAA service-based games are being created these days. They're not being created for the gameplay experience in mind, because that's been superseded by user engagement, and that's all they're trying to push. Especially, when microtransactions are involved, or there's an online store, they want people playing their game rather than someone else's game for longer. The more chance of buying those microtransactions, and that's why the hierarchy of these gameplay design decisions is changing. Like
100%.
It's like, and this is like what underlines it for me, and this is what gets me to like this is why I was so dramatic at the very beginning, because I see this as like the insidious gameplay design decisions, which are the prioritizing engagement over actual good gameplay design, or like.
It's the simulated engagement rather than making something engaging. Instead of making something you want to play more of, they're trying to bend the rules of their existing thing or games or whatever, because they're people aren't playing them enough or whatever. Instead of making those games better, they're just trying to undetected or subtly psychologically manipulate you into keep playing. So if you're finding it too easy, we'll make it a little bit harder. If you're finding it too hard, we'll make it a little bit easy. See, you're being rewarded constantly. We're keeping you right in that. We're edging you, baby. We're not going to blow your load just yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Just really back in just a little bit. And we see this throughout the games industry. Ubisoft have their own way of dealing with this. It's this. They just pack their games with full of so much shit that keep you playing forever and ever and ever, and make it really, really grindy. And then they say, oh, by the way, you can make it less grindy if you just pay for microtransactions, speed boost, XP boost microtransactions. Mm-hmm. That's Ubisoft's way of keeping their user engaged, is by just bloating their games with loads of additional like systems and stuff. Looking at you, Assassin's Creed. So I think this is just an indication of how bad game development is and the AAA sphere. And I know this is very dramatic, but it's what I call this is the boardroom method of game development, or the statistics-driven game development, as I like to call it. So basically, they're sitting around the boardrooms, they're looking at a spreadsheet, and they're making decisions about game design based on the numbers inside a little box, and that's what's wrong, right? So I'm getting pretty heated now. So they're developing games that will place the desired numbers in the correct boxes for them. But where's the imagination? Where's the passion? Where's the creativity? Where's the innovation? Where are the gains in these products? You know what I mean? Where's
the game? Not just
game?
A means to manipulate people into spending more money. One of the things that's kind of wigging me out about this is EA, right? EA primarily do multiplayer type experiences. Multiplayer difficulty, excuse me, the whole point of that is that it's based on player versus player most of the time. Most of their games are PvP. So how can you dynamically scale in a multiplayer game like that? Surely that's not what they're trying. I mean, I don't want to assume that EA would do the smart thing and stay well away from that sort of multiplayer meddling.
Because that would be a huge mistake.
Because that would be really fucking stupid. But, I mean, surely that's where it's going. I mean, if it was a game like Jedi Fallen Order, a game that is trying desperately to be a Souls-like but sort of half-arsed it, in that game, if they were trying to simulate or dynamically scale difficulty, I could see their reasoning behind it. I wouldn't necessarily like it, but I could kind of see the motive, what they're trying to achieve. I wouldn't like it. I don't agree with it, but I could get it. But then if they were trying to put this in, what do they even make now? Battlefield? Do they still exist, or have they given up on that yet? If they put that dynamic difficulty scaling in that for the multiplayer thing, I have no idea how that would work. Like, if you keep getting killed and your kill death ratio is awful as well in the negative, are they going to give you a little bump, a little advantage or something? Like, is that what that means? Surely not.
Like, it's all very problematic, and if you're not convinced yet, let's take a game like Anthem, right? And basically, in EA's estimation, the problem with their games is not that they're badly designed. It's not that there was a problem with the game itself. It's that people aren't playing for long enough. And basically what this pattern is them fixing that problem where people, if only Anthem was a little easier or a little more difficult, and people might still be playing it. That's bullshit. It's absolutely incoherent reasoning. It makes no sense.
I think people are more worried about not having enough stuff to do, not having a decent story, having to sit through loads and loads of bugs, or having to go back to your fucking base every time you wanted to change your damn gear.
It was they were defiling say that BioWare. BioWare is historically, we've said this many times before, historically do single player games really well. And it was EA just like, let's do let's use your good favour that you've won with all your fans. Let's make a service based game with your single player thing. Let's mesh it all together. Let's make this abortion of a game which should never have been made in the first place, just to try and sell more microtransactions or whatever, because that's the way it's games being decided, or game design based on figures on a spreadsheet. That's all it is, and that's why there's no passion, creativity, imagination. It's all about the numbers on a spreadsheet, which is why it sucks. So if you're looking for any of the passion, innovation, all that, people are getting wise now that that's not happening in the AAA game sphere, because all they're after is engagement. All they're after is the numbers on the spreadsheet. You've got to look for indie games. That's why games like Valheim have done really well this year, because it's none of that bullshit. And out of nowhere, it's like on the top player game on Steam, and it's a great example of how the community is wising up, and they want something different. They want something fresh. They don't want this bullshit of a paper-thin experience of a game where you're just repeating the same old shit, doing it over and over. It's there to zap your consciousness. It's there to keep you engaged. It's not there for any other reason. It's not there to push the genre anywhere forward. It's there just to make money for them on microtransactions, because you're there like a zombie playing their game for longer than you normally would be. And this pattern is just another indication of how low that these companies stoop in order to solve a problem that they've made themselves, which is they think they need to sell a load of microtransactions, and the way they're going to do that is by designing the game around around keeping you hypnotized by repeat mechanics or whatever. It's all bullshit.
I mean, maybe some people will like the sound of this. Maybe some people want the game to adapt to them in terms of difficulty. I just don't see it. I mean, please, enlighten us in the comments. I don't see how this is a good thing. Maybe I'm being totally blind, totally, ignorant to some really obvious, epiphany. Well, I don't see how this helps anyone other than them, other than EA trying to boost engagement with those fun buzzwords, and which therefore gives them more opportunities to pepper you with additional monetization. But
exactly.
Has this pattern gone through yet? Because they take a bit of time to be approved. It's been filed in October last year, but has it been approved yet?
I don't know for certain, but I'm assuming it has, due to the fact it's been published a couple of weeks ago. So, it's patent application publication. So they're just applying that they've applied for it. So no, it hasn't gone through yet. It's just the application that's
probably will. The only thing that will stop it is if someone else owns a system close enough to this, which I don't believe anyone does. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anyone else owns a patent-based or patent. I flip-flop between the two. I never know which one's the correct one. I just go patent and patent and cover all bases. I don't know if anyone else has a similar, let's say, copyright instead. Anyone has a similar copyright at the moment, but that'll be the only thing that stops this.
Yeah, it's and for me, it's just another reason why I don't want to play AAA games from EA. It sucks the soul out of gaming. It makes me it makes me feel like I'm being exploited every time I'm playing a game. If I buy a game and I feel like I saw a YouTube video where like we're not the customer, we're the I can't think of the analogy what it was, but it's basically we're only there to serve their ends, right? The game isn't there to entertain us. The game is there in order to turn us into continually paying customers. I think the whole thing stinks of bullshit. And like I said, it makes me not want to play AAA games, or it sours me on the whole thing. So if only they could wise up.
And the thing is, for like 5 minutes, EA had a bit of good, because everyone was talking about a game called It Takes Two recently. It came out as like a co-op action adventure type thing, very sweet and endearing art style, developed by Hazelight and published by EA under the EA Originals label. Everyone seems to have liked it. It got pretty good buzz when it first came out. Currently at 87 on Metacritic and 7 out of 10 on Steam, according to Google right in front of me. I'm not looking at any reviews or anything. So they can be in some way involved in putting out good games. It can be done. They just choose not to.
Yep. So there you go. That's that. Obviously, I got a little bit dramatic. I just hate this. I hate it. I hate them about it, and hate the reason that they're doing it. Obviously, I'm not balanced. I try to be balanced. I try to question why it would be a good thing for gamers. I can't really come up with much of a justification for it, though. I think it's all stinks of bullshit, and it's souring the whole experience of gaming for me. But if you've got any counterpoints, have you got any counter arguments why you think this would be good for people? Let us know down in the comments.
I mean, I'd like to hear them, but press
I'm always
X
open to the possibility that I'm wrong. So I might be wrong, but I'm just
we're
over
never
it
wrong ever on this channel. I never make mistakes. Not every day.
There you have it. So let's move on to the next segment of this podcast, which is the community segment, sponsored by the patrons and the supporters on YouTube memberships. And before we get into that, there's been one increased pledge this week. Kona has increased its pledge to $15.86 per month. Appreciate that, dude. Appreciate everybody who does take the decision to support us on Patreon or YouTube memberships, because that really does help us out. So if you do want to support us, patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, or memberships on YouTube on the main channel, not on this podcast channel, which is different now. And as a reward, you get early access to this podcast by a couple of days. You get to ask us questions for the podcast, and you get a satisfaction of knowing that you're helping us or supporting us to continue, because we do struggle to pay the bills. So without much further ado, let's jump into the Discord questions. Now, Metal Shark is back with another quiz. It's been a while. It's a bit of a break, but now he's back. And he says, after a break, we have returned the quiz. This time for Henry, you'll need to fill in the blank word in each of the following video game quotes. So, Henry, are you ready for the quiz?
Let's do it. I think I got this. I like to think I've got a good ear for quotes.
Okay. Question 1. Scorpion in Mortal Kombat says, blank over here.
Well, that's get over here. And
get over here.
What's his face? Like what's the guy's name? The boss of NetherRealm. It's him. It's not actually the voice actor for Scorpion. It's him who says it. It was Mike Boone? Boone something? He does it anyway. That's a fun fact in case you didn't know.
There's no bonus points for knowing the voice actor, unfortunately.
I'm trying to schmooze you a little bit in case I get one wrong later.
Unlucky, but it is 1 for 1. Yeah, that was correct, obviously. Let's move on to number 2. G-Man in Half-Life 2 says, the right man in the wrong place can make all the something in the world.
I have no idea. I've not played Half-Life 2 enough. I mean, this is just a complete shot in the dark of all of the thousands and thousands and thousands of words in the English language. The right man in the wrong place can make all the blank in the world. I'm going to say all the difference in the world. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
That is what it would be if he was using the well-known saying, all the difference in the world. But is it the right answer? It's correct, Henry. Well done. It is the right answer. All the difference in the world. So that's 2 from 2. Nice guess. Question number 3, Henry. Duke Nukem in Duke Nukem 3D says, it's time to kick ass and chew blank. And I'm all out of gum.
I think that even if you don't know this one, it's quite easy to figure out. This is it's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum. It's from another movie, though. I can't remember what the movie is.
Yeah.
It's not just
correct. Duke. It is correct. So that's 3 from 3. Well done. Alan Wake, question number 4. Alan Wake, in the game called Alan Wake, says, if our lives are already blank, it would take a courageous man to change the script.
Alan Wake's kind of a weird game where weird shit happens that you don't quite understand. I'm going to guess, if our lives are already over, it would take a courageous man to change the script.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, why not?
Is wrong. Alan Wake being a writer, and he's talking about a script. If our lives are already written, it would take a courageous man to change the script.
I should have figured that one out. I could have got that. Well, I'm on the same sort of meaning. That's just a better written sentence than what I came up with.
Yeah, and it was wrong. So that's 3 from 4. Let's move on to question 5. Ezio Auditore in Assassin's Creed 2 says, nothing is blank. Everything is permitted.
That's not just Ezio. That's the whole Assassin's mantra in Assassin's Creed is nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Is
correct. So that
basically means everything you know is what you are allowed to know.
So that's 4 from 5. Congratulations. Let's move on to question 6. John Marston from Red Dead Redemption says, some trees flourish, others die. Some cattle grow strong, others are taken by wolves. Some men are born blank enough and dumb enough to enjoy their lives. Ain't nothing fair.
I mean, that's quite a long quote, and it's been a hot minute since I played the original Red Dead Redemption. I think, because of the kind of man John is and the kind of game that Red Dead is, I think it's free. Some men are born free enough and dumb enough to enjoy their lives. Ain't nothing fair. Because he resents that. He doesn't feel like a free man.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Is wrong. Some men are born rich enough and dumb enough to enjoy their lives.
I'm on a similar sort of wavelength, but yeah.
Yeah, unlucky. So that is 4 correct from 6 questions so far. Moving on to question 7. Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid says the following. It's easy to forget what a sin is in the middle of a splank.
A splank. I think, as a big Metal Gear Solid fan, I think it's easy to forget what a sin is in the middle of a battlefield.
Is correct.
Yes.
Well done, Henry. That's 5 correct from 7.
Come on, right? I can do this.
5 from 7. On to question number 8 now. Old Man in The Legend of Zelda says, it's dangerous to go blank. Take this.
I mean, the only Zelda game I've played, properly end to end is Breath of the Wild, and other than that, I think I've played Twilight Princess, maybe, and a little bit of one of the other ones. I think that's probably with the fairy thing, the annoying one, the blue one. What's this guy? I can't remember what it's called. I think it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, and then he'll give you the fairy. I'm going to say that.
Is that your final answer?
Dangerous to go alone. Final answer.
Is correct.
Yes, I'm so good at this.
You've got caught a couple of these guesses, and you've failed on a couple of others. So you're doing all right. 6 from 8. Let's go on to question 9. The Joker in Batman Arkham Asylum says, tell me, Bats, what are you really scared of? Failing to save this cesspool of a city? Not finding the commissioner in time? Me in a blank?
Oh, I can hear it. I can hear it, but I don't know what it is. Because it's something stupid. Oh, fuck. I can hear Mark Hamill saying it. Tell me, Bats, what are you really afraid of? Let's just go with me in a dress. I don't think that's it, but I'll just say me in a dress.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Is wrong. It is
thong.
me in a thong.
Fuck. I can hear it. I can hear it.
We're still on 6 from 9. We're on to the final question. This is for a tally of 7 from 10, if you get this correct. And the question is, Solitaire of Astoria in Dark Souls says, praise the blank.
I have less than no idea. Oh, fuck.
You not being a Dark Souls fan and all?
I don't like Dark Souls. I don't really know anything about the lore either because I don't like it. I think it's poor storytelling beyond just gameplay stuff, so I have no interest in it. The gods a thing in Dark Souls. I mean, there's weird, technically, Lovecraftian gods in Bloodborne, which I'm more familiar with. Praise the bonfire. Fuck it. Praise the bonfire. Maybe someone says it at the beginning, trying to teach you the mechanics of how to save. Praise the bonfire.
Praise the bonfire. That is a very good guess, but it's wrong. It's praise the sun.
Oh, well. Never would have guessed.
Never mind. So, for the first quiz back from our little break, Henry has scored a grand total of 6 out of 10.
Absolutely
which
pathetic.
Is below par. I must say that is below par. We'll see what I'm sure Metal Shark can make it extra difficult.
This is
for me
now
next week.
par. I think this must be the first one of the new year, right? Maybe first one of 2021.
I think so.
So that is par. 6 out of 10 is now
6
par.
6 out of 10.
Moving
yeah,
forward.
I mean, at least it wasn't 50-50, so you did have to pluck these.
Yeah,
I
didn't have any lifelines.
You didn't have a choice or a lifelines or anything, so you did have to pluck these answers out of mid-air, and you did pretty well on some of them. 6 out of 10. It's a solid start. We can see if we can improve that, or if I can improve that next week.
Some of them I knew, which is fair enough, but others I took a solid stab at. Like that Zelda one, that was a real shot, and I'm glad I took that one.
Yeah, you should have got the Alan Wake one. There's no excuse.
I should have done that. Like, I was on the right wavelength, but Sam Lake is a better writer than I am, so.
And there you go. Thanks to Metal Shark for the effort that went into the compiling of those questions. Really appreciate it. As always, let's move on.
Okay, where... Oh, fuck, I've got shit all over my screen. Go away. All right, next... first, proper question. From Kona1. Seriously, best game ever would be... I read this one before. This isn't like a question. It's just, how cool is this? What do you think? I like this type of question. I think it's fun. Seriously, best game ever would be combine Total War, Crusader Kings, Mount and Blade. Am I right? Let you two figure out how these three should be combined, but to me, it's quite obvious. So Total War, big, grand strategy game. Crusader Kings, strategy game, but more political finagling and decision making rather than actual combat. Yeah. And then Mount and Blade is you're in the thick of it. You can be in the combat, in the fighting, as well as the strategy stuff. Yeah,
this is a very, it's the three biggest PC strategy war games, in my opinion, or the biggest franchises. Obviously, Crusader Kings for the political intrigue and the characters, and the fact that the game is based around you as a character and your traits, your positive and minus traits, and all that scheming and plotting and things. Fantastic. So you take that, you combine it with the Total War overmap, which is how you move around all your recruit and moving around all your armies and place them in strategical positions. And then you combine that with Mount and Blade, which is the first-person command of the real-time battles. And oh my God, you've got a recipe for an amazing game right there. Absolutely, yeah. It's a great observation. Not so much a question. Am I right, Kona?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Am I right is the question. Am I right is the question.
Am I right? Yes, you are right.
That'd be sweet. We've got nothing more to add.
Came here for validation. You got it. You're absolutely right. Let's move on. Kajirama asks the next question. For a moment
you fully mispronounced that. Take that one again. Reread.
Karajirama. Sorry. Where did I get Kajirama from? Karajorma.
Oh dear, this question might make the segment just because of your pronunciation of that name.
Right, okay, let's move on. For a moment there, I thought you were talking about Half-Life Total War game. But that does bring up a good question. Which universe would benefit from a Total War game? Henry.
I mean, I've been posed a similar sort of question in the past, and my answer always was, if I could do, like a strategy type game, what universe would I like that in? Gears of War was always that universe, always wanted that, but I sort of halfway got it with Gears Tactics, which I really, really liked. So I don't have an answer anymore of like what franchise would I like to do a big strategy game. Halo has Halo Wars.
Well, it's what universe, right? Not franchise. So it kind of opens up to other universes, which is why my answer would be Game of Thrones without a shadow of a doubt. Total War Game of Thrones would be
That'd be pretty sweet.
Epic.
Surely there is one, right? Is there not one? There's got to be like a proper, or maybe it's a licensing
mod or
thing
something.
to get, yeah,
that's it.
Because they've done Lord of the Rings ones, they've done Star Wars ones. Those ones, the first that pop into my head. Well, I can't think of a new one, or I'd like a big old armies.
Yeah, I don't think that the Game of Thrones games are very few and far between. Like you've got the
and we can actually have a proper battle against the Night King, not whatever the hell that was.
Yeah. Although the Crusader Kings, if you combine Kona's mishmash of a game with Total War, Crusader Kings, and Mountain Blade all together, and then you make a Game of Thrones universe out of that,
that's the game.
I would be playing that for until the end of time. Let's put it that way.
So who is it? Creative Assembly. If you're listening, make notes.
Yeah.
And also do Alien Isolation 2. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up is from Raspberry. First off, apologies for last week's offensive spelling of colour, without the U in case you missed it. The incorrect way, of course. I'm Canadian, and due to our proximity with the US, we freely interchange spellings with and without the questionably necessary U. The U is always necessary.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you're doing so well there, Raspberry, and then you said it was questionably necessary.
It's not questionable. It's just necessary. The colour without a U isn't a word. It's just kept with the program, along with neighbour, honour, and armour. Also, Henry's answer was quite in the spirit of the answer or the question, because it was some ridiculous. What's your favourite colour of the alphabet? I think it was something like that. And Gaz was delightfully mysterious and ambiguous. Well done. Now for something more philosophical, and it may seem similar. Okay, I haven't pre-read this, so who knows what's going to happen. You're in a desert, walking alone in the sand, when all of a sudden you look down and see a tortoise. And if anyone says tortoise, I might just punch you. It's crawling towards you. You reach down and flip the tortoise over onto its back. Jesus, that's a bit cruel. The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over. But it can't, not without your help. But you're not helping. Why is that? So why? I'm not allowed to make the choice. I have to not help. Why am I not helping? If I'm alone in the desert, the most logical reason is I'm killing it to eat it. I'm letting him die in the most fucking brutal way possible, letting him scorch and bake within his shell. He's going to be a little steamed tortoise for dinner.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that. I want to help him. I want to roll him back over and let him be free. Do I have to kill him?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the question, isn't it? You have to kill him, but why? What's your justification?
Why
are you torturing this poor army? You could just stamp on it, I guess.
But I guess that's not in the rules. I've just got to leave him there.
Exactly.
And do nothing. I can't end his suffering or save him.
Why is
the only
that?
option I can think is for food. I need to let him die before I die so I can eat him.
I did have a good answer to this, but it's not coming to mind.
Unless this is a riddle and there is some fancy clever answer that I've just completely overlooked.
But it can't, not without your help. You're not helping. Why is that? Because maybe you're using it to lure a bigger animal to come and catch, and that wouldn't work because you don't have any sort of snare or anything.
You could like catching an eagle or whatever.
Maybe because it's just about to tarnish your pool of water you've just found, about to go and dump its shell in your nice little oasis that you found. That would be a...
Yeah, but if we kill it and we eat it, we can then use the shell to like scoop the water up and drink more of it.
Maybe he holds the key to your getting out of there, and you need to pressure him. You need leverage over him in order to allow him to release release you from where you are. See, because if he's the master of the universe, and only he holds the key to your escape. So
if I'm walking alone in the desert, I'm not entirely sure this tortoise is even real. I think it might be something in my imagination. Maybe that's the answer to the riddle. Why am I not helping? Because it's not real.
I know the answer. Because you're alone and you're totally powerless, right? It's the only way you can redeem a little bit of sanity is by feeling powerful or having mastery over another being.
And abusing this poor tortoise.
So flipping the tortoise over is validating your actual existence and keeping you sane on your journey, because at least you've got power over that. Yeah?
I mean,
that works.
If you need to abuse a little animal to feel powerful, you're a psychopath. That's the end of that. So
I've given you 3 answers there. Hopefully one of them was good enough for Raspberry. A great question though. It definitely got me thinking. Let's move on. Kona, is it my turn to read?
I believe so.
Okay, Kona, another question. And the question goes as follows: would you rather be too hot or too cold? Although Henry's already too hot, but hey, what do I know? Okay.
I am actually very warm in this room.
Too hot or too cold, Henry?
I've always said I'd rather be too cold, because then you can always whack more layers on. Ideal, obviously, it's not always possible. If I'm, thrust into the North Pole through a portal right now, there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah.
But you can keep putting layers on. You can warm yourself up. Whereas if you're too hot, there is only so much you can take off until you're butt naked and you just want to rip your flesh off. There's only so far you can go with being too hot.
That's true. I do hate being cold, but
I do hate being cold.
It depends on what extreme it is. If it's like proper hot where you're at the point of like real discomfort, then I choose too cold, because you can do star jumps. You know what I mean? You can't cool down by doing star jumps, but you can warm up. But there you go. That was that one. There's another 2 parts to this question. Would you rather eat something too salty or too sweet?
Too salty or too sweet? So it's not just sweet or salty. Generally I prefer savoury to sweet. I like sweet, but I think I'd rather go too salty. My favourite flavour of crisps is salt and vinegar, so I'm quite used to that sort of flavour. I'm
in agreement there. Too salty, absolutely. And then the final part. And would you rather be too salty or too sweet? See what he did there?
I mean, I think I'm already pretty salty. I moan about shit a lot.
Yeah.
Salty and petty. I mean, too sweet. What are the disadvantages to being too sweet? I don't think there's any disadvantages to being too sweet. But if you are too salty, then you're a bit of a pain in the arse and no one likes you. Like, can you be too sweet to people? I suppose it can come across cringy and weird. You'll be like a Reddit nice guy.
Yeah, too sweet. I guess I could do with being a bit sweeter sometimes. But then again, salt is part of my brand. You know what I mean? It's that whole thing has been too salty over things like patents in EA games. You know what I mean? Who does that? Who gets?
Well, we're definitely not going to be sweet about it. So I think we're just going to stick with being salty.
There you go. So we've got cold, salty, and we're in agreement. Thanks for the questions, Kona.
Fabulous. Right. Next up from Dayoth. Given the choice, would you play as a non-human character over human? And do you tend to prefer games featuring non-human protagonists? The less D&D/Tolkien standard of human, pointy-ear human, short human, and short, stocky human, the better for me. So, I think this is one thing that annoys me a lot about games, especially Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. They had the perfect opportunity to come in with some cool-ass alien, and what do they get? Some bloody ginger guy.
Wow. Did you just use that as a slur?
Yes, I did.
Some bloody ginger guy.
Dirty little ginger. Ranger.
Wow. A character with no soul.
She gets what she deserves. I mean, if it's a D&D type thing, that will come with stats based on the race. So that will be a factor. But I'd almost always rather play not me in a game.
Yeah.
If I have the choice, I'll try and do someone who's a little bit different. And while my main character in my current D&D campaign is an orc, and my god, if anyone plays D&D, I hope you will enjoy this. But he's just been broken. He's an orc barbarian, and We had this deck of many things, which basically is a deck of cards, and each one does like a completely random thing. Mine, it swapped my constitution, which is what my health is based on, and as a barbarian, it's very important to my armor as well. And it swapped that with my charisma. I didn't need to be charismatic. I'm an orc barbarian. I'm about as aggressive as you can get. That's all he needed to be. But now, he lost his constitution, so now he's got piss all in the way of health. His armor ability, unique to being a barbarian, which is having unarmored defense, which means your armor is based on constitution and dexterity, is now fucked. So he's now cheerful, and he can't take a damn hit. I'm really strong, but I'm a glass cannon, and it's really fucked me right off. Sorry for that small rant, but I'm really annoyed about it.
Get it off your chest, man. Get it off your chest.
Well, I've had to. We played yesterday and we made like no progress. We just tarted around in this town looking for a bakery or some shit stupid like that. But now I've got some armor. I'm ignoring the unarmored defense trait. I've got armor and I've modded my axe at a blacksmith with some in-game finagling, so that I can use it with one hand. So my AC's back up to where it should be, and life's a bit better. But I've still got to be cheerful. He's still got to be happy and charismatic. He can't be angry anymore.
Okay, so we're glossing over something here. You're playing D&D, right?
This isn't news. I've said this before.
Who are you playing it with?
Some of my old pals from uni. Not together. It's remote.
So it's just like you're streaming. Like, and how do you play over? Is it like a?
Well, we mainly use Discord for the chatting stuff because it's marginally more stable. But there's a website called... Oh, bollocks, I've just closed my tabs. Oh, dear. Oh, that's a minor disaster. Right. Right. Yeah, we use a site called Roll20, which basically is all of the maps and all of the assets and all of the systems all in one place. So you can... It's got inbuilt dice and everything, so you can click what you need to do for your rolls. Like if you need to roll a strength save, for instance, you can roll the 20 and then you add on what you need to. And if you want to go a little bit further, you can build your character sheet within the Roll20 ecosystem, but it's a bit of a pain in the arse. It's good once you get it right, but it takes ages and it's quite fiddly to get right. But yeah, that's the main thing we use. Or there's other sites like D&D Beyond, which is a bit cleaner and prettier for getting a character sheet up, but it's missing loads of stuff because it wants you to buy the books and the expansions. Although annoyingly, I literally have the handbook here, and I'm like, well, can't I just put in the ISBN or something and let me use all of the stuff that's meant to be in it? But they're like, no, you need to buy it again in virtual form, in digital, on our system. But yeah, I've been playing for about a year now. I started last March, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, that is awesome. I didn't realise that these things, obviously, if I'd have thought about it, I'd have been able to figure out that these things can be done over the internet. But awesome, that's cool. I might take a look at that. We've had
an in-person session planned for ages. This campaign's technically over, this one that I'm in. I'm in a handful of others. This one's technically over. We're ready to fight the dragon. It's supposed to happen. But we wanted to finish it with an in-person session with us all together for the first time to play it. But obviously with lockdown going on, that's kind of not really happened. We've been finished since like October, and then we took a break for a couple of months and we came back, and now we're just sort of doing other shit. Because my DMs realised, right, I'll just need to keep you playing. You're just going to have to level up, and I'll level up the dragon. We'll see what happens. But we're going to fuck it up. This dragon's going down. We've got a whole army. Every town we go in, we basically recruit the townsfolk to come and back us up. But this isn't a fucking D&D podcast. We need to talk about video games.
I'm just having a look here, and they support groups of Cyberpunk players. I'd be interested. I've actually watched a couple of episodes of people playing Cyberpunk Red, Cyberpunk 2020. On YouTube,
I really want to jump into stuff. It's meant to be way harder, way more brutal than the D&D rule set. Yeah, because there's loads of different tabletop games. Just D&D's the typical one. Anyway, what's the fucking question?
Yeah, a bit of a side question. Side note there. That's the question was non-human character over human. It depends on the world. I would say. So, like a fantasy world, I guess being human's a bit boring. But if it was like a futuristic world or I guess Skyrim would be even in Skyrim I guess I choose human.
I think in Skyrim I'd spent ages making an elf, and then as soon as I was done I was like, nah, he looks like shit, and I just went for a human. So that kind of undercut it. But if I get the opportunity, I'll probably be a non-human. I just think it's more interesting. I'm a human in the real world, man.
Yeah. Yeah, give me something new, innit? I'm so boring. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Right, I think the next one is you.
Okay, Tons has the next question. So with the PSN stores with the PSN stores for PSP, Vita, and PS3 closing, several big voices in gaming have stated that morally speaking, it's okay to crack systems and use pirate the games. It's clear Sony has no interest in these legacy systems when digital-only games are on the verge of disappearing. Okay, when digital-only games are on the verge of disappearing in the ether, that's the question. How do you two feel about the issue? Question. So I think I watched a Jim Sterling video this week, and he just basically says, just crack it, pirate it. You should do that. They don't care about the art. They just look interested in the money, and when there's no money in it for them, he says you got free reign to crack it because they're not losing any money because they're not going to sell it in any future.
Yeah.
I guess
do they
that's
stand to lose?
Reasonable justification.
Yeah, I
guess
think
that's reasonable.
There was Metal Gear Solid 3. No, not 3. Metal Gear Solid 4 is the only one I've not played because it was exclusive to PS3 and it's not on anything else. It's not on PS4. They never ported it for God knows why. Konami just hates Metal Gear for some reason. But you can technically play it on PC, and I've sort of like half thought about it for a while because you can do it with like cracking and stuff. Then I saw someone making a post about it, and he had like a disclaimer saying this is not out and out illegal, but it's certainly questionable at the very least. But I encourage you to at least buy the game as you can, so then physical copy. You don't have to do anything with it, and then download it, even just for your own sort of moral sanity, your moral stability, to make yourself feel good. And I kind of like that. Like if you want to support the developer, especially if it's a smaller team, not that not the bloody Konami is or anything like that. But like we were saying about supporting indie games, don't crack them, leave them alone. But then if they do get to a point where you can't play them anymore because they're not sold, then yeah, why not? And if you like it, then there's probably another way out there to support them, whether they've got crowdfunding means or like merch or whatever. I think merch and non-gaming things is still a good way to support developers, even if you're not quote-unquote buying the game itself.
I think it makes sense for the developers just to give out the games for free, because if anything, it gets people invested in your future work. In your game world, if you are going to make sequels or whatever, it gets people who wouldn't otherwise have experienced them to get interested and attached to your prior creations, and then more likely to buy off you in future. If they're not going to be sold anywhere, they're basically going to be disappearing from sale everywhere. You're not losing out on any money by giving everything out for free. And we've all seen how this type of marketing online can work. Give some things for people free. It's like say you're selling a series of novels or something, right? If you give away the first book for free, you get more likely loads of people are going to buy the next in the series. And that's why you have these games franchises who are just about to release another game in the series. Let's say, take for example, Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Just before the second or the next iteration comes, you downright guarantee there's going to be a huge sale on the original game, just so that people can buy it up, play it, get invested in the universe, and they'll be more likely to buy the second game. This is how these types of things work. So it doesn't make sense for the games to just disappear forever. No. And for them to justify it by thinking they're not going to make any more money, very short-sighted.
But you're not going to make money, but you're not going to lose any money. And I think, actually, you will make money. Like you're saying, people will buy the next one. But also, I think I mentioned this concept recently with Activision doing something. I think it's Activision making their new game in World War II for Call of Duty. And the idea is that it's all going to feed back into the Battle Royale one. So these new mainline games, the big premium ones, are basically just marketing tools for that. So if you make going back to the cracking games thing, if you make the game free, that then becomes a marketing tool for all of your extra stuff, whether that's a new game or, like I was saying, with merch or anything like that. The game is just the beginning of the ecosystem. Ideally, if you want the big business idea, and I think CD Projekt said that this was basically their plan for The Witcher and Cyberpunk to just become massive multimedia franchises, and brands, essentially. And then the games are the beginning, and then once you play the game, it's like, oh, I like that. And then it's this recurring multi-fingered pie of revenue coming in from all these different sources. So if you do that with a free game, you're just opening everyone up to all this extra stuff. It seems so obvious to me that that's what you should do.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for the question, Tons. Let's move on to the very last question of this podcast from Death.
Okay, I didn't get a long one to start with, but I get a long one to finish with. Jolly good. All right, Death, what we got? Here's a bit of a long devil's advocate question on loot boxes, and if you guys consider them a hard line, or if there might be some acceptable grey area in the middle. Boy, you are playing with fire. Let's see where we go. Let's say loot boxes in and of themselves are universally banned by law as gambling. A lot of freemium, and good ones too, like Path of Exile and Warframe, rely at least in some part on loot box purchases. What are some solutions you think might work that cleanly avoid gambling concerns but still allow the use of loot boxes as something to be purchased? Would a limitation on amounts per month be sufficient, or should they not be purchasable at all? If the latter, would it be acceptable for them to be an incentive for real money spending, such as you buy a supporter pack or a skin in the tier of a pack, or a skin and the tier of a pack purchased, or so much money spent in total? Jeez, there's so many ors here. Or as part of a monthly subscription, you get loot boxes as a bonus. Effectively, they'd be a thank you for supporting our game sort of perk in that scenario. Or is it just too much of a damn risk to bother with them anymore? I won't deny that they can be fun. Not that they've ever intentionally spent money only on the loot boxes. Any I've opened were always a perk or bonus for some other real money purchase, or they were free. But then that's the core problem, isn't it? That gambling can be fun. Right. Is there ever a time when loot boxes are acceptable, even if we outlaw them as gambling? Is there ever a world in which we would accept them or believe they work? Straight answer, just no. I don't think they are a good bit of, at the very base level, if we get rid of the gambling stuff, this bad game design. It's not, why would you be a supporter, if we're going with a supporter like pack, like loyalty kind of reward type thing, why would you want something random? It's just going to be some thing. I'd rather know if I pledge. It's like a Kickstarter. You get rewards for your pledge tier. If I pledge this much, I want to know what I'm getting, not just getting some random thing with maybe the chance of something cool. I don't see that as worthwhile or a good solution. I mean, even if you take out the gambling aspect and you make them transparent, well then what? And you can see what's in them. Then what's the point in it being a loot box? It's just a purchase at that point. Like you know what you're getting, and it opens, confetti and sparkly lights, but you're just buying it then.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think for me, if it was my choice, just bury them already.
Just hardline them, get them out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's my personal preference. But I know some people do find the fun in them. But you just got to question, like, why are they fun? Because they tickle that itch that gambling gives you, right? They basically that's the reason why they're so fun to open, is because they give you the same kind of response, physiological response, as gambling does when you win.
They're deliberately designed to do that. That's part of the reason the gambling question is so important, because they are using the same tools that a slot machine or a casino would use, with the sparkling and loud noises and instant feedback.
Yeah, they are psychologically manipulating you or tricking you into having more fun with the game. Let's be honest, right? No fun is ever enhanced by a loot box. No game. And if it is enhanced by a loot box, your game was shit to begin with. You need to design your game better if loot box is the best part or one of the fun parts of your game. It makes no sense to leave them in. Just make good games. Just work around the fact that you can't make money off loot boxes. And I know free-to-play games will die. Answering specifically the question, what are some solutions you think might work to cleanly avoid gambling concerns but still allow use of loot boxes as something to be purchased? I have no solution for that. There is zero. You cannot avoid the fact that it does give you the same psychological payoff as gambling does, and therein lies the problem, right? This is why we're rallying against kids being subjected to these things. Yeah, they're fun. They're supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be addictive. They're supposed to keep you come back and play and do it more often. Spin our wheel daily, and you can win. You can win extra. You get big surprises and that. It's a trick. It's a psychological manipulation, and it shouldn't be anywhere near games. If a game's good, like I said before, you should not need to coerce somebody and trick them psychologically to come back and play it. Your game should be good enough. The game mechanics should be good enough. It should be a compelling gameplay experience. You shouldn't need these psychological tricks. And I think that's a prime indicator for me of a game that isn't any good. If you've got to go back to play the gambling mechanics, then the game itself sucks.
And that's just it. And I don't like this kind of idea that they're free to play games. They've got to earn their money like this way. That's not my responsibility as a player. It's not my responsibility to deal with. My responsibility as a player starts and ends with playing the game. That's it. If I don't have to pay for it, I don't have to pay for it. You can't assume or expect players to pay for something if you've already made it for free. It would be nice, it's a little extra thing, or if you want to do skins and cosmetics and shit. I have no problem with any of that sort of stuff in a freemium game. Most of the time they still bend the rules and make it really grindy or some bullshit anyway. But it's not... If they make a free-to-play game and the loot boxes get taken out, that's not my responsibility to solve that problem. It's their responsibility. You made it free. If you can't finance it on a free-to-play model without loot boxes, your choices are either shut down, unfortunately, or start making a premium game. Start selling it to people. It probably won't work. The game might die. But it's not my responsibility or anyone else's responsibility as a consumer to do that.
Yeah, there are a couple of options. I mean, if you take loot boxes off the table out of games like Path of Exile or Warframe as the cited examples in the question, you can still monetize and probably make enough money. You probably make less money without loot boxes, but you can still monetize it. You think about Battle Pass system or something like that in Fortnite, where you pay a premium, or you pay a recurring monthly fee, and you get extra rewards, or you get extra gameplay, or it doesn't have to be gambling. You don't have to have gambling in your games. That's just an extra bit of bullshit that they use, the extra hook that they get to get you hooked on it, just keep you coming back and paying, and it shouldn't be anywhere near gaming. I've made my point on that before. But like I said, the upselling into a subscription-based thing is one. Another one is like asking for pledges, or, obviously the problem with upselling people and having rewards tied with a subscription or a purchase is that you then segregate your player base. Pay to win questions get raised.
Oh yeah, none of it can be gameplay altering like that. It has to be
exactly.
All just like
you have to be very
bullshit.
careful with how you do it.
Yeah, I hate the kind of thinking, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but some of the phrasing in this question, I'm like, I'm hearing developers being like, "Oh, support us if you're our best fan, our best player, buy this loot box." And I hate that stuff. I think it's really manipulative. You see public figures, especially like big YouTubers, do it all the time. It's like, "Oh, I need your support." It's like, and they guilt you into doing it. I'm like, no, don't do that. It's a choice. We upload to YouTube and everything for free. That is a choice, and then it's a very, very pleasant surprise or something when someone does support on Patreon. You are under no obligations to do it. You don't have to buy the skin. You don't have to buy the loot box just because a developer needs you to for their support. They don't need you to. Yeah. They're already making loads of money. Especially those games, Path of Exile and Warframe, they're popular. They're doing well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if you do it, if you give someone a decent experience, then they will morally owe you something anyway. I've played a few games in the past where I've been like, this is free and I'm having so much fun. I feel bad that I've not contributed anything. Or it's the same with like a YouTuber or something. It's like I feel kind of guilty that I've gotten so much out of this that I haven't contributed. I want to help them. Maybe I'll look for a way to help them that doesn't involve gambling. That doesn't involve a psychological trick or me trying to be manipulated. The problem with the gambling thing is that it makes the whole thing seem dirty. It makes it seem like they're turning you. Again, it's just my cynical brain going in overload. But there are better ways. There are other ways to do it. You think like Wikipedia, for example. Not everyone likes that website, but I use that quite often, and I have donated to them in the past because they've asked, because they said we're in trouble. All you have to do is support us once, and it mean the world of difference. I use the website so much. Yeah, there you go. Have a donation. That makes sense to me. That is justifiable. If it was like, pay us $5 to support us, and we'll give you a free spin of our wheel, I'd be like, nah, mate, nah, that's just not right. It doesn't make any sense, that. So yeah, there are better ways to do it. Don't let them fool you into thinking, or confuse you into thinking that loot box is the only way to do it. These are gambling mechanics, and it was only this week that I think. Is it Brazil have come out and started legislating, and there was a UK inquiry thing that came out this week, saying, equating them to another damning report from the UK saying that loot boxes are akin to gambling. It's just a matter of time. These mechanics will be out of games, or they'll be 18+ games for a reason, because they damage you. I guess that's a bit of a loaded term, but they will give you the hook of, it's like sorry, I'm rabbiting on a bit now, but imagine if every time you wanted to use the bus you were forced to smoke a cigarette. It's a bit of an extreme analogy, and people will probably say not comparing this and that, but just imagine like not smoke a cigarette, take a hit of nicotine. Right, so you're not physically doing your body any damage, but you're getting your body psychologically addicted to the effects of
just
a
little
smoking.
Each time, just a little
jab of nicotine in your blood system. You're not technically doing any damage to yourself, but you're getting the same effects as what smoking would be. Imagine that. Imagine the uproar. No, you can't get on this bus until you have this little shot of nicotine. Same kind of thing. Probably a bad analogy, but it's the best I can do. Well,
most people could handle that little prick of nicotine, just a little bit every now and then. Most people be like, that was something, and I can move on with my day. But there will be plenty of people, maybe reformed smokers as well, people who have quit. That will be a problem for them, because they won't be able to stop, because they're already predisposed. I mentioned it in one of the videos this week. Companies like EA with their FIFA Ultimate Team and stuff, they're not looking to hook you or I, or you viewer, because presumably you watch a channel like this, you hate this sort of stuff, presumably. They're not too fussed about getting you. They're fussed about getting the whales, the people who are already addicted, and the kids who don't really know what they're doing, which is part of the reason why it's such a problem. And in the study this week, it said that 5% of people they surveyed, or they worked out, it's not like one-to-one, but they worked out that 5% of their study accounted for half of all spending. So that 5% spends that much because they are addicted, because they've been designed to be so. They've been designed to manipulate you psychologically with pretty lights and little confetti, and have a pink gun. There you go. That'll make you happy.
Yeah.
I know you wanted the yellow one, but it's coming. You'll get the yellow one if you just open another box, and then maybe another one. I'm
not sure if you were expecting that torrent of negativity, Dave, but I think we've made ourselves clear on how we stand on loot boxes.
You did say it was a devil's advocate question, so I'm hoping you are
zero tolerance, man. We've got absolutely no tolerance on this channel because of what they stand for, because of what they're trying to do. It's the manipulation just doesn't sit right. But thanks for the question.
Unfortunately, that's the last one.
Thanks for the question. I think we went in a bit deeper with that one, but let's move on to the next segment of this podcast, which is the unnecessarily aggressive comment of the week. And this... I don't even want to read the username. Google is a bunch of FAGGOTS. I could have probably said that, but that's the username, right? And he or she, we're not presume your gender, says the following, all caps to begin with: stop giving Activision money. And that's 5 exclamation marks. I think I blew the microphone to pieces there. And then it continues. It's your fucking fault. So fuck you, players. You get what you deserve.
That's a lot of aggression. We've just ranted for a good few minutes about loot boxes, but never did we raise our voice to 5 exclamation points. My goodness.
Yeah, it's about we all get overwhelmed with emotion. That's not what's at issue here. We all feel those feelings, dude. Google is a bunch of Fs. Like that is your prerogative. It's up to you, how you deal with that. But expressing yourself in such a way just makes you seem like an idiot. Makes you seem like you don't have any good reasons that back up your point of view.
Based on his username, I think that's quite obvious that this young man has some pretty stupid opinions about things.
Let's not make any gender
forgive me. This individual.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. This is a guy. No woman will ever be that aggressive in a comment like this. I just don't buy that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. But either way, it's just a case of this is what I tell my kids, right? It's not how you feel. You shouldn't just automatically just spout off because you feel aggressive. You should acknowledge the fact that you're feeling upset for whatever reason, and then just let it sit for a while, and then talk about your feelings after you've had time to reflect, and not just impulse shout at people for something or impulse reaction. It's never constructive. It's usually always destructive, and it doesn't really get you anything. Just think about a cleverer way to communicate.
If you ever feel like this person, if you ever feel like Google is a bunch of Fs, just take a minute, type out your comment, and then leave it. Put your phone down, walk away from the computer, go, make a sandwich, have a glass of water or something, then come back and see if you still feel like commenting it. If you do, go for it. Yeah. If you still feel that angry, that toxic, then nothing's going to stop you. Nothing's going to hold you back, not even a good sandwich. But if not, if you've come to your senses and be like, oh no, maybe that's a bit out of line, then just don't post it, delete it. Just take a minute and chill the F out.
Take a minute and chill the F out, Mr. Bunch of Fs. That is your unnecessarily aggressive comment of the week. Let's move on to other less aggressive, or hopefully less aggressive comments from our YouTube comments this week. Henry, do you have anything prepped?
Right, so this will link back right to the start of this podcast about a certain reporter in a certain game called Mass Effect. Now, I've got two things about it, which I think is quite fun. The first one is from one of the segments from last week's podcast about binary moral systems in video games. Are you good or bad? And then this person, before I made the Mass Effect video, before I made the joke, he was already on the same wavelength as me, so I like it. Mitharan, I don't care how Paragon you are. We all punched that damn reporter. And then, when I did the Mass Effect video, I had no idea that comment existed until I was looking for comments. Tyler Bond, quoting me, if you don't punch the reporter, you're doing it wrong, said our reporter. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Henry being the reporter in this instance.
Yes. You should punch me.
Punch
I
Henry.
say stupid things. I mean, I don't try and, paint Commander Shepard, who is a real war hero, as some fucking psychopath. But yeah, punch me. If you see me, you have permission to punch me.
Oh, don't say that to them. They fucking will. It's the internet. There's all sorts of weirdos.
Let's see what happens.
There's all sorts of weirdos.
It's fine. You don't know where I am, most of you.
Right. Let's hope nobody ever catches up.
These walls are safe.
On that Mass Effect video, I've got Stig Kenobi with the zinger of the week. He says, "Arseless effect." Assless effect, I guess. Assless effect, not Mass Effect. See? Zing!
Oh, man, it's people. What
Dude,
is it? They've tweaked.
He's got 553 subscribers, this guy. I mean, he's got some charisma.
He's got some opinions. That's probably about people being annoyed that they've tweaked, what's her face? Miranda's arse. No, they haven't tweaked her arse. They've tweaked a camera angle. And I mean, if you're annoyed about that, I'm not saying you're wrong, because it's a bit stupid. It's a bit, like, oh fucking, it's only an arse, get over it. But at the same time, I've seen more people angry at the change than people who are angry at the arse in the first place. In case you don't know, there's a scene where Miranda's talking to you. It's about something quite serious, and then there's just this kind of leering shot on her butt. And
why?
She's got an iconic butt. She is the biologically engineered perfect human being. And she's got a good butt. People want to see it. That's fine. But I don't think many people gave that much of a shit. But the developers took it on themselves to change it on their own free will, supposedly. No one's been pressuring them to. Mm-hmm. But now more people have made a fuss about the fact they have changed it. They've not deleted it. They've just changed the camera angle so that you're not looking at her arse when it's quite a serious moment. And I'm like, is it a meaningful change? Not really, but people everywhere are so mad about it. I'm like, why do you care? Why do you care that much about her ass being there or not being there?
I'm pretty angry about them having the ass. Talk about objectifying Miranda. She's my babe, man. You can't stick her ass in the middle of the screen that. And
if it was Liara, I'd have a different
respect
opinion.
Her. She doesn't get respect. People aren't respecting her. They're just looking at her like a piece of meat, and that's disrespectful, right?
Disgusting.
Okay.
I don't get it. There was a couple of comments on that sort of note, but I'm like, I don't. Who cares, man? But whatever. If you want to see it, you want to see it. If you don't want to see it, you don't want to see it.
Who cares? I mean, that's the bottom line. The bottom line. Get it? Let's move on before I say anything else stupid.
Have you got any comments good to go?
I've got a bunch of ones. I've got one from last week's podcast. Beech Horn, who's Metal Shark for those of you who don't recognise. He leaves a timestamp on last week's podcast and says, "This is the behind the scenes content we came to see." And if you click on the timestamp, it's where in last week's podcast, I got up and left the room and came back and then plugged in my laptop because I was down to like 2% battery on my laptop, and it missed the edit for some reason.
I straight up just missed it. I've got no joke, no excuse, no nothing. I just
you don't need an excuse because it's one funny. It's one of those mistakes that always got. See, it leads to engagement. 4 people have thumbed up it. You need a mistake in every video, Henry. I have to keep telling you.
In that case, it was deliberate.
I keep telling you. You got any more?
Yeah, I've got a couple more. Oh, damn, I just lost. Oh, so this one, I think it's it raises an interesting point. Again, this is on the Mass Effect Legendary Edition video from Mighty Link. Why change art? We don't give Mona Lisa sunglasses and a cell phone just because it's modern times. The Mass Effect trilogy should have just been left alone. A simple port to newer consoles would have been better. Okay, so he raises an interesting point. Why are we changing things if it was fine the way it is? However, I think you're misunderstanding things. This doesn't replace what came before. You can still play them. If I Google, right, what's it? Mona Lisa with sunglasses. I'm literally going to Google Mona Lisa with sunglasses right now, and I'm sure something will come up. There we go. There's one. Mona Lisa with sunglasses. She looks like shit. They don't suit her. They're too big for her face. She should be wearing some aviators or something. Not these, not her style. Anyway. That's the picture that exists. I'm sure a real person made it, and they're probably selling it on some storefront. But the real painting still exists. You can still go and see it. It's in Paris at the moment. It's in the Louvre, right? Just like with this version of Mass Effect, this Legendary Edition, it won't replace the old one. Hopefully, in theory, because your argument totally makes sense and is totally valid in cases like Warcraft 3, where they overwrote the last one. You physically cannot play the original before. That deleted it and brought in the new one. That isn't the case here. Well, supposedly, so far as we know. You will still be able to get hold of the original 3 in all of their, lower res, jankier glory, and have a wonderful time if that's what you prefer. I fully understand what he's trying to get at. I just don't think it's accurate. It's not the same thing. Yeah. Because I literally just found Mona Lisa with sunglasses. The real picture still exists. You could put them both side by side.
That's it. I mean, I understand people wanting the the newer version of the old game as was. I can understand that. But if there was obvious flaws, I mean, game development is over time, over 10 years, however, game development has changed. Like the fact that you can't run out of combat, for example, so frustrating. I went back to Fallout New Vegas, and the speed that you move at in that game is like, God, you wouldn't get away with it in games these days. But that's what it was, and for the time it was fine. For now, by modern standards, it just wouldn't stand up, and that's the reason they're making these changes, because they want people to have a good time, and it doesn't matter what the original was like, because you can play, like Henry said, you can play the original, but they do want to update because game development has moved on, and each successive year on year game development learns a collective lesson about how to do games a little bit better. So now we're at a point where we know how to do games relatively well compared to what we did 10 years ago. Let's use the learnings we've done in the last 10 years to make this old game a lot better. That's what they're doing here. They're not changing it for any other reason. They're just trying to make your gameplay experience better, which is good.
Yeah, and the thing is, for every person who wants it to just not exist at all, remain exactly the way it was, there's someone else who wants a 100% remake, ground-up, Resident Evil 2 style, complete overhaul. And then this is, it's not that. It's not either of those. It's a bit of an upscale with a few tweaks here and there, HUD stuff, UI stuff, some behind-the-scenes stuff. But yeah, if you don't want it, you've still got the old ones. It's perfectly safe, Mighty Link. Go get them.
There you go. I have a comment on last week's podcast where we were discussing boxes of briefs, and Twin Mama comments, I prefer ladies' underwear, but one of my 22 years old twin sons prefers boxes. The other one briefs. I hope this comment was helpful. So not only we get a load of ladies' underwear, we got boxes from one twin, and the other one wears briefs, and they're twins.
If that doesn't say something about nature versus nurture, I don't know what to tell you. I
mean, I guess that validates their name, Twin Mama. So if she's a mother of twins, that makes a lot of sense, because you're wearing ladies' underwear. It wouldn't make sense for you to wear boxers or briefs. Depends how kinky you're being. And then of your twins who are 22-year-old, they're wearing different underwear. It's a good nice comment. I like that one.
Wear whatever makes you comfortable and makes you happy. But I've got another comment here from, again, it's the other extract, which was about DRM and Crash Bandicoot being cracked within a day. And again, this is another comment where I just disagree with that. I think that it's not quite the right misunderstanding. Not quite the right understanding. From Rubber Cable, and it got 10 likes, so a lot of people agree. This is the new business model, the Netflix model. You own nothing, you just rent it. But the thing is, Netflix, it's not... You can still buy stuff. Like, if you want to buy something outright and own it on DVD or physical media, you can do that. Netflix is its own thing, even exclusive. So I googled Stranger Things. Let's Google Stranger Things again. Stranger Things on DVD. Where can I get it? Let's see, Amazon. There we go. Amazon Season 1, Volume 1 for $10.12 on Amazon. So what else is a Netflix show that we can try? Daredevil on DVD. No, not Daredevil. Not Cruella DeVille. Netflix Daredevil on DVD. Boom, there you go. HMV. So it's even better than going to Amazon. The whole first series for $12.99. It's not like the new business model. It's just another one. It's an additional one. If you want to own what you want, I like owning things. I still buy DVDs quite regularly because I like having them. You can just buy it. But if you can't be arsed with that, because it's a hassle, and you get all of this stuff, all of it basically for nothing in the grand scheme of things. You pay, it's like 10 quid a month? I think it's just gone up though, but it's about 10 quid a month for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of films, most of which you won't even watch. And it's a real bad time if you're looking deep and you end up in the stuff that's, let's just say, not anything to do with your recommendations, because I've never watched a Bollywood film in my life, and all that stuff starts coming up. But yeah, if you don't like it, it's totally cool. You can just buy it outright. Buy it on disc. Sorry, this is kind of a waffly answer, but I'm finding people with fundamental philosophical disagreements.
There you go. That's what the comment section's for, is for having discussions. My very last comment here was from last week's podcast again, where I mentioned that dogs had caused the coronavirus, and Kara Jorma, I got it right this time, Kara Jorma says, they've proven that dogs can detect the coronavirus, and yet they didn't warn us. I think you might have uncovered a plot here.
I think you're onto it.
I think it's mounting evidence against them, that's for sure.
All right, I have one final comment, and I think it's a nice one, and it's very simple. It's sufficient. Again, it's the video about the new loot box thing in the UK, which was from GambleAware, from Lewis. Good video, guys. Nothing else, just clean, efficient. We like that. I like that. I like a man of few words.
And thanks everybody for leaving comments on our YouTube videos this week. Make sure you leave a comment on any of our upcoming videos, including this one, for a chance to be featured in next week's podcast. Let's move on to the very last section of this podcast, which is the bad dad joke of the week. All right, Henry, why don't dinosaurs make good pets?
I don't believe that at all. I think they would make good pets, but go on, tell me.
You're spoiling the joke. Okay. Because they're dead.
Oh, well, that's true. Dead pets are no good.
Okay, another one. This is one from the archives, but Marcus Hicks contributed this one. A friend asked me if I knew the difference between ignorance and apathy. And I said, I don't know, and I don't care. That's a classic. I'm sure we've used that before.
Yeah, definitely.
And very last one is going to be, again, from Marcus Hicks, who seems to be the main contributor here. My body is a temple, ancient, crumbling, and in all likelihood, cursed. Very good.
I did think it was going to end with and filled with little bald men or something. Just as a little twist.
Wow, you took a dark turn there, Henry.
Again, what Marcus Hicks gets up to in his spare time is his prerogative, with or without ladies' underwear, boxers, briefs, whatever you like, man. You do you.
And talking about what people do in their spare time, thanks everybody for joining us for this podcast in your spare time. And I guess thank you on behalf of Henry and myself. There's nothing left to say, but thank you for watching or listening, whatever you did. And we'll see you again in the next podcast. Until then, bye for now.